The first step of getting into drifting is picking the right car, and this is something that often goes a little sideways. I'm Devin from Dr. Garage. I'm going to share with you my top 5 tips for picking a great drift car to start out with. Everybody has a different budget and some different criteria of what they're looking for in car style, and so there are some variables right out of the gate that I can't really account for. But these 5 tips I'm going to share with you are pretty universally applicable, so you can use them to apply to your marketplace search when you're looking for a car. My first tip is going to be how to pick the right chassis. And the way to do this is to go out to a couple of your local grassroots drift events or watch some grassroots drift event coverage videos on YouTube. And what you're gonna be looking for are the most common drift cars that are out there. I know some of you are sitting, but I don't want to look like everybody else. I want to be unique. I want to build something cool. I want to build something different. I want to stand out. Hey, I hear you. I built one of those, an old A86, because I wanted to be different, because I loved that car. But it hindered my ability to learn and progress quickly because I had to build the entire car to be competitive or capable as a more standard modern drift car that's available now. And remember, this is a car that you're just starting out with. You want to get the highest quality seat time possible, and to do that, you're going to use a generic drift car. This isn't your forever car. You can always pick something else to build later, but this is what you should use to get started. And depending on your budget, you may have a different type of car to pick from. So right now in 2024, the top cars you probably see at your events are higher end of the budget. You're looking like a C5, C6 Corvette, or maybe even like an FRS or BRZ. And then you get down into some of the more mid to low end budget stuff like E36 BMW, E46 BMW, 350Z, G35, Mustangs. I guess SN95 Mustangs are really good right now. Higher end, you've got S550 Mustangs, the newer ones. You also got stuff like Mazda Miatas and IS300. So there are quite a few variables. And the reason why you want something to be common is because you want the most support for the chassis. That comes from both aftermarket parts, making sure you can get drift specific performance parts, but also for setup. And you see if there's a common car that's at your local grassroots events, that means you can talk to these drivers that are there all the time and ask them for tips and tricks on how to set up the chassis. The next filter you're going to be using is transmission type. Unless you have some type of physical disability or something that prevents you from drifting a manual transmission or driving a manual transmission vehicle, you should always look for manual transmission. Yes, you can drift automatic vehicles, you can do it, but manual gives you a few more techniques and abilities to be able to drift arguably better. For techniques, I'm talking about being able to like clutch in to decelerate and be able to clutch in and handbrake when you need to. And so a lot of it is revolving around that clutch usage. You can also select a gear and leave it in that gear and not have to worry about the PCM going, I'm gonna shift to another gear, when you really just wanna stay with the gear that you're in. My third tip is once you start narrowing down the vehicles you're looking at, you want to get something that is running and reliable. I know some people like to build cars and they want to buy a shell because they can get a shell for cheap, a rolling chassis or something like that that you can stuff whatever engine and transmission in. And unless you are somebody who's built a lot of cars, I would encourage you to steer away from that and just get something that's running and reliable out the gate. Spend a little bit extra money versus buying a shell and building it, because you're not gonna have any questions about it. You're gonna have something you can drive. You don't have to figure anything out. It's gonna be, it's gonna have all the parts you need to go, and you'll be able to get seat time instantly instead of having to wait till the car is done. And trust me, I've learned this from experience. That car, my A86 back there, I bought it as a complete but non-running car. And I spent a lot of time getting it running and driving, and then I did an engine swap, and I did a different engine swap, and it took me about 5 or 6 years till the car was really drivable. And at that point, a lot of my friends had either moved on to driving at a higher level, or they moved on to other hobbies, and so I was kind of stuck on my own. Now, tip number 4 is kind of on a similar line of running and reliable, but also as complete as possible. I know a lot of people strip the interior out and go, oh great, that's a light, I'm reducing the curb weight, it's more lightweight, it's gonna be better performing. But that's not always the case, and sometimes you want the interior. I have bought and sold 2 different sets of interior for this car because I have changed how I wanted to drive and what I wanted to do 2 or 3 times. And so I put it in and I take it out, and I put it in and I take it out, and it's better just to have something complete right out the gate. Plus, if it's complete, I mean, I'm drifting in Arizona now. It is hot. And I would love to have a car that has working air conditioning, and it's not possible in that car. So if you're buying something newer, you got working air conditioning, hey, that's a big plus. Or even like a radio. I mean, you don't need a truck and a trailer and all this stuff to start drifting. You can get a street-friendly car, something that's running reliable, it's got air conditioning, it's got the creature comforts you need, and then take that drifting. And that's where having the most complete car is gonna make it that much better. Plus, I found that as I've started to create videos and do more content creation and stuff like that from drifting, having a stripped interior causes a lot of extra sound, and while sound and noise is cool, you know, having that visceral mechanical experience, it's not conducive to creating content. It's also not conducive to having passengers. The louder the car, the harder it is to hear each other. And while top level cars, like pro level cars, that's really freaking cool. For a grassroots car, not so much. My last tip for you is about modifications. More heavily modified cars aren't always worth more money, and they aren't always better. You see, when it comes to modifications, I think you need to do some research. There are some modifications that perform great, that are awesome, that are great value for the car, but there are other modifications that really aren't worth anything, or if anything, they might even be a hindrance or worse, especially coming out as a new driver, trying to pick a car, trying to get started in drifting. If you choose a car that is more heavily modified, it's got a crazy angle kit, it's got a crazy diff and all these crazy power mounts and all this stuff, it can actually hinder your ability to progress as a driver. All the extra modifications can actually cover driver flaws or areas of improvement. It can also cause you to fight the car a bit more, because more advanced cars are usually set up with more grip, and more grip means it's harder to drive. So I would say when it comes down to modifications, follow the KISS guideline, keep it simple, stupid. The simpler the car, the better it's gonna be for starting. You know, a good set of coilovers, maybe some minor angle modifications, a working handbrake, maybe a welded diff or a clutch type limited slip. There are a couple of different things you can do to make it drift really well out of the gate, or for low cost, and that is the kind of car I would be looking for in a starter drift car. I would be looking for a full-blown race car. Now, I've got another video on my channel. Make sure to click the link above where I talk about my 5 favorite modifications for a drift car. They make the most sense, as well as improve the quality of your seat time to the max when you're first starting out drifting. If you found this helpful, make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, all that stuff. If you've got other questions about drift cars, maybe you're looking at something, you got questions, put it in the comments below. Also, take a look at the video description. There's a link in there where I have channel memberships, and different levels of memberships have different perks. And even at the higher level memberships, I will help you set up your car, help you with diagnostics, other things. So take a look, click that link and see what works for you. Also, check out my channel for other videos of drift instructional stuff, as well as drift car things. You know, I do a lot of drifting in the A86, and I've got other cars I'm building. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.